Shortcut. If you see una or ina at the end of a word, it's a combination, then you should know that it's talking about people. It's not used for stuff. It's not used for objects. It's not used for places. It's not used for ideas. You don't find una or ina for anything other than people. Okay? By extension, it can include human beings, or in addition to human beings, it can include jinn and angels. Okay? Una and ina can be for human beings and jinns and angels. In your reading of the Quran, those words can have una or ina in them. If you're reading a word that has una at the end, for sure it's not talking about a thing. It's talking about people or angels or jinn.
Ustad, can you clarify what you mean by three or more combinations are for people?
Yeah, so whenever you hear you know how the last column on page 6 says Muslimuna, Muslimina, Muslimina? If you see a word in the Quran that rhymes with una, ina, any one of those endings, then you can tell the status, you can tell the number, and you can also tell that that word in its meanings is about some kind of people. Okay, so those words are a reference to people or creatures that possess intellect. Okay, so that's the classical way of thinking about it. The term they use is, Jama'a Mudhakkar Salim li dhawil uqul. So the una, ina combination for creatures that possess intellect. Now I don't use the words those that possess intellect because you might say, well, that my cousin's not included. So so I just say people. Okay, to make it simple. But those words are words used for people. The other places I didn't put people because un and in could be talking about a book, could be talking about an idea, an adjective, could be talking about anything. Ani, aini, aini could be anything. But una, ina is always about people. Yeah. Okay, so that's the breakdown. Now we made quite a mess. Okay.
There's still confusion on that last part about the people, especially with the word Aalameen.
Oh, okay, good. So people are paying attention. So they asked about the Aalameen means they're paying attention. I was hoping somebody would ask, hey, but what about Aalameen? Let me show you something beautiful. And there will be tangents in the class. There are Quran tangents. So you learn something about Arabic, and you also end up learning something about Quran and tafsir of the Quran and things like that. Okay. So in the Fatiha, we recite Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And you notice that the ina has a combination at the end, right? And that's 3 or more nasab or jar. In this case, it's actually jar because it's master of Al-Alameen. So it's actually after of, which is why it's jar. Now, they translate this as master of the worlds or Lord of the worlds. Okay. I personally am not a fan of the translation Lord because it sounds biblical. Also because we use it in movies like Lord of the Rings or whatever, right? Lord Veda or whatever, right? So it's a title for people. But the word Rabb is actually higher than that. Also, I'm not crazy about just the word master because master has slaves, right? And we're less slaves, so it's appropriate. But the word Rabb actually has someone who really takes care of something delicate, like growing a delicate plant or something like that. So I like Sheikh Suhaib and I like the translation nurturing master. Actually, that's our preferred translation of Rabb, is nurturing master. So he's nurturing us and he's our master. Because a master could be oppressive, right? A master could be like a tyrant. Now, of the worlds. Now, the thing is, the Arabic word alam actually means a world. Now, the plural of it in Arabic, interestingly, is awalim. Awalim means worlds. But Allah didn't use awalim. He used what? Al-alameen. And ina, I just told you, is used for who? People. People. So actually, I don't even like the translation worlds because of ina. So it's not a good translation of al-alameen. It's actually the worlds of people.
Oh, okay.
It's actually referring to people. Now, what does it mean, worlds of people? It means, let me give you an example. So I used to live in New York, right? And I just lived in New York didn't travel anywhere. And I thought everybody else is crazy. I was scared to come to Texas. So I thought everybody's got like, pew, pew, yeehaw. Like it was, that's what I thought Texas was, right? So the first time I went to a different state, one of the first times was in Georgia.
Oh, okay.
My sister lived there. She passed away, rahimahullah. I went to visit her, right? So when I went to Georgia, in New York, if you're going down the street and somebody says, how are you? How's it going? Beautiful day, isn't it? You're like, take out the pepper spray or run the other way or cross the street. Like, what's wrong with you? But in Georgia, when you walk down the street, like, how's it going? How y'all doing? That's a beautiful day, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
people are talking to you like, you're like, and eventually you're like, oh yes, it is a nice day. You know, you get normal.
Yeah.
So you're not about to get mugged by an old lady who, you know, parked the car next to you. So the point is, I called my friend and said, man, this place is a different world,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
right? So when we say world, we don't just mean a parallel dimension
Yeah.
from which the alien invasion will come. A different world can mean a different culture completely. Man, their streets are different, their buildings are different, their houses are different, the way people talk to each other is different, their culture is different. Man, it's a completely different world. And I thought Georgia was different from New York. But then I went to Malaysia for the first time and I said, this is a different world. It was the coolest thing ever. I cried so much because I was staying at a hotel, which was also a convention center, right? And the hotel and the convention center in the middle of this really busy city, Kuala Lumpur. And it was Maghrib time. And I'm like, I can hear the adhan in my hotel room, like from outside. I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Well, I got to find a masjid. And then I get out and there was a convention going on. There was like a police training for male and female police officers. And there were hundreds of people in uniform, like police. I was like, is there an emergency? What's going on? So, you know, there's like a lobby and like an escalator, and there's like hundreds of thousands of people going in the same direction.
Mhm.
And I figure I'll just follow. You know how, like, if you ever been to Umrah or something, like people follow in the same direction when the adhan happens. Everybody's walking towards the same direction. It was like that. I was like, I'm just going to follow along and see what happens. So I follow along and I end up in a parking lot. Like, you know, those buildings that have like multiple level parking lots?
Yeah.
There was a parking lot, multiple level, and inside the parking lot, there was a door, and behind the door was a huge masjid, like end-to-end masjid,
Dang.
and it was completely filled, and then people were lined up in the parking lot with their police uniforms, other people that are attending other textile convention, whatever other convention. It was a huge, giant section, must have been at least 1,000 women, and it was a Wednesday evening, and we're praying Maghrib. And I didn't go to a masjid. It was in the parking deck of the hotel that it was like that. And I was just like, this is a different world. I did not expect to see that, you know?
Yeah.
I went to a company and their corporate headquarters, like it was a skyscraper. It was like a maybe 80-floor building. And in one of the floors, the whole floor is a masjid. And all the employees, when they have their break, they take the elevator or stairs, they join, and they pray Dhuhr together, 3,000-4,000 of them. And I was like, this is a different world. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Everything about it was so like different to me, right? So what I'm giving you that example because al-alamina, worlds, can be about how different societies are.
Yeah.
There are different worlds of people. And then they're even in the same society, you know, all the doctors have their own world. All the engineers have their own world. Teachers have their own world. Students have their own world. Kids have their own world, right?
Yeah.
Seniors have their own world. Old people have their own world. Young people have their own world, right? So people can be in their own world and not know anything about another world,
Yeah.
right? So, you know, friends of mine that are non-Muslim, when they come and see this bookshelf, they're like, you read this stuff? I'm like, yeah. It's not fake. I was like, that's not fake. It's, man, I've seen fake ones. Like, that's not fake. And then they open it up and they're like, you can read that? I was like, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. It's a different world for them, but they know stuff about, one of them knows stuff about cars that I can't imagine knowing. And he's telling me about how he just pulled out the transmission and did this, that, and the other. I mean, I got to put a nitro boost in here and this, you know, this, and I was like, yeah, clearly, of course. Yeah, but that's not my world, right? So when Allah says al-alamina, he's not talking about planets and galaxies. He's not talking about, you know, the moon and Jupiter and like, you know, another solar system or something. He's actually talking about the worlds of people. And how do we know that? Because Allah used the word with ina in it. Because what did I just tell you? Ina is for people. So this is so beautiful that Allah used that word, because in the Fatiha, the whole Fatiha is about people. Fatiha is not about the skies or the earth or the oceans and the trees and the different stars Allah created in the universe, etc. It's not about that. It's about us.
Yeah.
So every word in the Fatiha is about us.
Mm.
And that's why perfectly Allah said this word. And you know why that's important? Because Allah said He guides us in the Fatiha. We ask Allah for guidance.
Yes.
Yeah.
So listen to this. Has society changed since the Prophet's time?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Or different people, like your family's from Afghanistan,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Is that when you if you ever visited Afghanistan before,
When I was like
Yeah,
4,
like
but I
8
don't
years
remember.
ago.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
do you remember it being very different from here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Very nice.
If you guys ever you went to Turkey recently with your
Yeah.
dad, right? Before Corona,
Mhm.
right? And Umrah,
Yeah.
was that different from here?
Very different.
Right? So they're different worlds.
Yeah.
Completely different world. And you have, when you go to school, you have non-Muslim friends.
Yeah.
Right? What is Allah saying? Allah is saying, I'm giving a guidance. Doesn't matter which culture, which society, which religion, which race, which ethnicity, how much money, what economic status, what political status. It doesn't matter. This is a guidance for all people, all cultures, all societies, all generations, whether it's the 1800s or it's 2020 or it's 1400 years ago or it's 500 years later. It's still going to be the same, guidance. The thing is, everything else expires. This building is going to expire. Mathematics textbooks are going to expire.
Yeah.
They're going to be new ones because math will have new discoveries.
Mhm.
Right? Science textbooks are going to what?
Expire.
Cars are going to expire.
Mhm.
What we read, movies are going to expire. People aren't going to watch the same movies. They're going to watch something new.
Yeah.
Music is going to expire.
Mhm.
Everything expires. It becomes old stuff
Mhm.
because people want new and new and new.
Yeah.
Right? But this guidance,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter which society you're in and which generation or what century you're in, it doesn't expire. It stays the same. And that's because the nurturing master, the one who's nurturing people thousands of years ago, is the same one nurturing us now,
Mhm.
will be the same one nurturing generations to come. And He spoke in a way that can nurture all of them.
Yeah.
That's Quran.
Mhm.
And all of that I learned from what? That Ina. You see why this is important?
You
Yeah.
learned.
So
You learned that much from just Ina.
well, there's more. Imam Fakhruddin al-Razi wrote an entire volume this thick on just the Fatiha. And he said, there are over 10,000 lessons I can learn from Surah al-Fatiha. He said that.